Okay, so Thomas told me the theme for this month is ugly for Creative Mornings, and the talk that I normally give when I have speaking engagements is how culture affects typography. And when he told me the theme is ugly, I thought, well, you know, I don't want to stand up here for 20 minutes and talk to you guys about ugly typography because that is forced on us on a daily basis. So instead of talking about ugly type, what I have done is reflected on the 15 years of being a professional graphic designer, and I have come with 7 lessons that I have learned throughout the 15 years, the good, the bad, and the not so ugly, that I'm going to share with you, these 7 lessons and my experiences that go with them. So the first lesson that I have learned is that it is very important to set goals, long-term goals and short-term goals. This was made very clear to me when I was a student at Louisiana State University. I have a BFA in graphic design from there. And it was in about 1998 when I was a junior that I set a goal for myself, a short-term goal, that I wanted to graduate and move to New York and start working. And so what I did was when I graduated from LSU in 2000, I moved all of my stuff back to my parents' house. I got married in the living room of my parents' house and then moved to New York all in a 2-week time span. So it was a crazy 2 weeks. The people who came to our wedding didn't know what to give people that were about to throw their lives away. So they gave us money. And my husband and I spent all that money in one place, which was the Howard Johnson Hotel in Times Square, because we didn't know where else to go. And that is how we started our lives. So it was very much setting a goal and accomplishing that goal. So the first job I had was a junior designer for Hearst Magazines in their in-house art department that supported all of their magazines. We lived in New York for a total of 3 years. The last year that we were in New York, my husband's an architect, and he got his master's from Columbia University. And so I wanted to get another experience working in New York while we lived there. So I was offered a position as a promotion designer at Women's Wear Daily, which is a high-end fashion daily newspaper. And so a long-term goal that I had set for myself back in 1998, 1998 was a big year for me for setting goals, was to be a speaker in some capacity. And I'm not sure why I had that goal, because speaking is in front of a group of people is horrific, to say the least. But it was a goal that I set for myself. So number 2 is work on projects that you are passionate about. After we left New York, we moved back to my home state of South Carolina, and I started freelancing. And one of the jobs that I was given was to design spreads for a hunting magazine. And I am vegetarian because I don't like the killing of animals. It is very much a personal choice. My husband and my kids eat meat. But I had a really hard time doing layouts like this. I'm not going to look at it. You guys can look at it. And it started to affect me in a very negative way, my health and having to Photoshop blood and all this stuff out of pictures. And so I ended up quitting this job because it didn't agree with me. On the flip side, working on a project that I'm very passionate about, sorry for the color there, is the birth announcement for when my son was born. So this is something that I put a lot of heart into and my soul and everything, and I think it shows as more of a successful project. And then where I am now, I work for Dixon Hughes Goodman. I am an in-house designer. Dixon Hughes Goodman is one of the top 20 public accounting firms in the United States. If you had told me in 1998 that I would be an in-house designer for an accounting firm, I probably would have thrown up. But I am extremely proud of the company that I work for, because I have been with Dixon Hughes Goodman for 4 years, and what it has taught me is it's not only important to be passionate about the projects you work for, but also the people that you work with. is also extremely important. And I am very lucky to work for a company that supports, that understands the value that I bring to the table with graphic design. Number 3, learn from your failures. Everybody fails at one point or another, but whether or not you learn from them is what makes the difference. And the story that I have to go with this is I was asked to design a logo when I was freelancing in South Carolina for the System Foundation, which is a nonprofit group. And I had come up with these 4 typographic solutions. And we were at the stage where they wanted to start talking about color. And so I put these swatches next to the logo, which it's hard to tell in this, but it's blue and brown, different shades of blue and brown. And my only reason for showing those colors was just so they could see a larger swatch of it. What I should have done, the lesson I have learned, is whatever you want the client to see, show that on one sheet of paper, and then any additional elements should be shown on a different sheet of paper, because this is the logo that they went with. So in my mind, this is a failure because those swatches were not supposed to be part of the logo. But when I presented it, they were like, oh, I love those squares. I'm like, what? No. Number 4, if you can't find what you are looking for, create it yourself. The story that I have with this is AIGA South Carolina. So AIGA is American Institute of Graphic Arts. It's a national organization. And when I was a student at LSU, I was a member of the New Orleans chapter. And then New York, I was part of the New York City chapter. And then moving to South Carolina, there was no chapter. The closest chapters were AIGA Charlotte and AIGA Atlanta. So I thought, how hard can it be? I'll just start a chapter. It turns out it's actually really hard, but I am very glad I did it. So I'm the founder of the South Carolina chapter of AIGA and served as president for 2 years. And my whole mission with AIGA South Carolina was to bring in big name speakers every single month, and that's what we did. Michael Beirut from Pentagram, Chip Kidd, House Industries, Seymour Quast, month after month we had these speakers. But December is a tricky month because of the holidays, but I still wanted to have an event because I wanted to keep the momentum going. So the summer before the chapter launched, there was an AIGA leadership retreat for board members. And I attended the leadership retreat and made friends with the president of the Honolulu chapter. And when I met her, I had the freak out moment, oh my God, Honolulu, my dream destination where I've never been. And she's like, yeah. So I ended up making friends with her and said, wouldn't it be cool if we did an exchange where we'll box up anything and everything that has to do with South Carolina, including pieces designed by South Carolina designers for South Carolina clients, and we'll send it to you, and you guys do the same for us, and that'll be our December event, opening the box. So that's what we did, and when the day of the event, we opened the box, and they sent sand from Waikiki, and everyone got leis, and they sent soundtrack of Hawaiian music to listen to as we opened the box. I think they sent Spam. But it was the pieces designed by Hawaiian designers for Hawaiian clients that really stuck out to me, because when you laid them all out, it was very apparent that their culture affected the design choices that they made and the typography choices that they made. A lot of organic shapes, muted color palettes, sans serif type. So the next year at the leadership retreat, I was on the hunt to make friends with another chapter president that would be willing to do this exchange. And I was fortunate enough to make friends with the president of the Las Vegas chapter. So we did the same thing. And in the box from South Carolina that we sent to Honolulu and to Las Vegas, we put in like a bag of grits, tea from Charleston, stuff from University of South Carolina and Clemson, and then also pieces designed by South Carolina designers for South Carolina clients. And we hung tags that had fun facts of South Carolina on each piece, so it was basically South Carolina in a box. So when we received the box from Las Vegas, opened it up, and they sent like poker chips and cards, and I felt like I needed to be disinfected going through the box. But the pieces designed by Vegas designers for Vegas clients, when you laid them out, it was such a stark contrast from what we saw the previous year from Hawaii. Big, bold colors, really sharp, angular shapes, and slab serif typography. And it just really stuck out that culture makes a lot of decisions for us, whether we know it or not, whether it's intuitive or not. And so this whole idea, how culture affects the design choices we make and the type choices we make, lay dormant in my head until 4 years ago when I took the in-house position at Dixon Hughes Goodman. And it took about 4 months into this job where I realized, man, I really need some kind of an outlet because I'm stuck with a very limited color palette, very limited type choices, that I needed something to keep my interest going. And so that's how I started my blog, Culture and Typography. And it's just a WordPress site. I'm a print designer, so this was the best I could do. And it's just, the whole concept behind it is just pairing pictures that I have taken from different cities. And it started out as just being, you know, my goal that I set for myself was I wouldn't care how many hits it got a day or what was being said about it, but just have a creative outlet for myself. I never in a million years thought it would lead to speaking engagements. But themes started to emerge as the blog progressed. One of the themes is manhole covers. So I love manhole covers. I am not ashamed to admit that. I think they are beautiful works of art. This is by far my most favorite one that I've come across, taken in downtown Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I love it because it is unique to the city that it's in. You will never see this manhole cover in downtown Cleveland. So if you are out walking around and you notice manhole covers that are unique, take a picture and send it to me. Another theme that I have come across is found type that I write a lot about. So this is actually taken on the side of a lamppost outside of the University of Cincinnati campus. And it was at the base of the lamppost. So I may or may not have had to get down on the ground to take this picture, but it was totally worth it because of that K. I think it's just beautiful. Graffiti is another theme that runs rampant through my blog that I enjoy writing about. And I have not come across graffiti quite like what is in Miami. And this is taken in the Wynwood Arts District of Miami. And this is artwork done by the graffiti artist Retina. And he has a very distinctive script that is derived from hieroglyphics, Arabic, and Hebrew. And then lastly, hand lettering, because of how unique it is. This is taken on the side of a taco truck in San Antonio. And I just love it. The hand lettering because it's unique, and then that taco. I would challenge you to find a better illustration than that with the white gloves and his cowboy boots. I mean, it's just makes me so happy. Number 5, you have to trust yourself before anyone else can trust you. Nothing is more, well, there is one more thing, but the second most thing, being most humbling, is teaching. Walking in front of 20 people where you have to talk about the history of graphic design and the history of typography and have to critique projects in a very thoughtful way, in a meaningful way that impacts students. So I was teaching graphic design and typography at the University of South Carolina for 5 years. And then this most recently, I taught a semester at the University of Akron. And I realized, you know, if I don't trust myself in the things that I'm saying, then there's no way anyone else is going to trust me. Also, speaking, which is the most humbling thing, standing in front of a room full of your peers, if I don't trust what I am saying, then it's going to sound like a bunch of crap to you guys. So my whole goal with my speaking engagements, these are the 14 AIGA speaking engagements I have given in the past 2 years on how culture affects typography. My whole goal is just to speak from the heart. And I ask for all my speaking engagements, each presentation is unique because I ask local creatives to send pictures that are unique to their city to me 1 month prior to my talk. And then I will pair those pictures with pictures that I have and create a custom-driven presentation. And then lastly, I was asked to speak at the How Design Live conference this past May in Boston. And for me, this was a goal that I set for myself in 1998 when I was a student, to speak on this stage, because How is one of the biggest stages for graphic design. And so to be able to go from my daily blog, which was created just for me, to have it on the national stage was a very humbling experience. Number 6 is the one, I'm not going to lie, I probably still struggle with from time to time, is find out who you are and never let go. When I was growing up, I was a tennis player, and I was awarded a tennis scholarship to play at LSU. I was on scholarship to play there. That's where I met my husband. He was on the men's tennis team. And I was very much identified with that. That was my identity growing up. I'm that girl that plays tennis. And when I went to college, even though my path was going more towards graphic design, I was still known as the girl that plays tennis. And then when I moved to New York, I felt like I was hit with this white wall. And the white wall was, who am I and who am I identifying with? Am I the girl that plays tennis? Am I the graphic designer in New York City? Who am I? And I really struggled with that. And then moving to South Carolina and being a freelance designer, and then AIGA and teaching, again, I had this identity crisis. And then this happened. These are my 2 kids, Kai and Isla, and they also contributed to the identity crisis, because being a mom was now thrown into that mix. So I very much then hit a white wall of who am I? And most recently, being an in-house designer for Dixon Hughes Goodman, I have learned over the years that it's okay to identify with bits and pieces. You don't have to be known for just one thing. And so that leads me to number 7. Don't be afraid of the unknown. Embrace the white wall and replace your fear with curiosity. So that's my 20-minute talk. Oops. That 20 minutes went by really fast, it seems like.